ABC pulling Jimmy Kimmel Live off the air indefinitely due to comments Kimmel made related to Charlie Kirk. I'm Frank Billingsley.
And I'm Ernie Manouse. We'll also talk with ophthalmologist Dr. John Anderson, who will take all of your eye care questions from back-to-school concerns to those of us with aging eyes.
And I'm Celeste Díaz Schurman. As Ernie, Frank, and I discuss the top stories of the day, we want your thoughts, questions, and concerns. Give us a call or send us a text at 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org.
You can also watch us on YouTube by going to hellohouston.org and clicking the big orange banner.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. Major unions are joining some of the biggest names in entertainment and sounding the alarm about censorship in the wake of late-night host Jimmy Kimmel's indefinite suspension. Yesterday, Disney-owned ABC yanked Kimmel's late-night show from air after receiving backlash over his remarks about the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk last week. President Trump is applauding the latest move. NPR's Mandalit Del Barco has details.
Host Jimmy Kimmel had called Charlie Kirk's murder senseless. During his monologue on Monday, he said this.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
That sparked a backlash by Kirk's supporters, the chair of the Federal Communications Commission, and ABC affiliates from Nexstar and Sinclair, who demanded Kimmel apologize to the Kirk family and donate to his group Turning Point USA. Many have denounced Kimmel's suspension as censorship. Mandalit Del Barco, NPR News.
Well, Kimmel came up during Trump's state visit in the UK today.
Jimmy Kimmel is not a talented person. He had very bad ratings, and they should have fired him a long time ago. So, you can call that free speech or not. He was fired for lack of talent.
Trump also had a lot to say about major tech deals with Britain, the Gaza war, and his disappointment in Russian President Vladimir Putin. Trump says Putin has let him down in failing to take steps to end its war with Ukraine. NPR's Tamara Keith reports on Trump's remarks during a joint press conference with British Prime Minister Keir Starmer at Chequers.
For some time now, Trump has been warning of stern consequences for Putin if he doesn't end the war. But at the press conference, Trump was non-committal when asked about actually imposing those consequences.
It doesn't affect the United States. And it doesn't so much affect you. Of course, you are a lot closer to the scene than we are. We have a whole ocean separating us.
UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer jumped in.
We have to put extra pressure on Putin. And it's only when the president has put pressure on Putin that he's actually shown any inclination to move. So we have to ramp that pressure up.
Starmer said the UK and France are willing to take the lead. Tamara Keith, NPR News.
Starbucks employees in 3 states are suing their employer over the company's new dress code. They say Starbucks failed to reimburse them for the expense of having to buy new clothes. Starbucks says it wants the employees' green aprons to stand out. The new dress code keeps clothing colors and materials largely to black, khaki, and denim. Certain tattoos and facial piercings are also restricted. U.S. stocks are trading higher this hour. The Dow is up 88 points at 46,107. The S&P has gained 36 points, and the Nasdaq is up more than 200 points. It's NPR News.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Alexandra Hart. With 1 month until the planned closure of Polk Street, a group of East End residents are asking the Houston City Council for a delay. The closure comes as the George R. Brown Convention Center expansion gets underway. News 88.7's Dominic Anthony Walsh reports the group is also demanding concessions.
The 13-year, $2 billion expansion will take away a 2-block section of the bustling thoroughfare connecting the East End to downtown. In addition to a delay, a group of East End residents want the city's Houston First Corporation, which owns the convention center, to invest $250 million in infrastructure, mobility, and engagement improvements.
So I think concessions are important.
Councilmember Joaquin Martinez represents the area and serves on the Houston First board. He points out the corporation already agreed to fund the $10 million conversion of nearby Leland Street into a two-way road.
To ask for $250 million, it's a heavy-ass lift.
The closure of Polk Street is slated to happen in October. I'm Dominic Anthony Walsh, News 88.7.
It's still unclear what school nurses can and cannot do under a new state law. Part of Senate Bill 12 requires that schools get parents' permission before providing routine physical and health services. However, Becca Harkleroad, the executive director of Texas School Nurses Association, says a lack of clarity on what that is causing confusion early in the school year.
We heard nothing, and then we heard one thing, and then we heard a different thing, and then we heard do it now. So I think some school districts who had worked pretty hard in advance to get things set up might be loath to make significant changes right now until any of the updated guidance is finalized.
Harkleroad made her comments on Houston Matters. The winner of this year's Lone Star Series is the Houston Astros. They defeated the Texas Rangers last night to claim the Silver Boot Trophy. The Astros swept a 3-game series with the Rangers, likely knocking the Rangers out of the Major League Baseball playoffs. The Astros take on the Seattle Mariners Friday. I'm Alexandra Hart, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Progressive, with small business insurance for protecting a variety of business types with multiple coverage options, designed to fit business owners' needs. More about small business insurance is at progressivecommercial.com.
Live from the University of Houston, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's your host for Hello Houston, Ernie Manouse, Celeste Díaz Schurman, and Frank Billingsley.
Hello, Houston.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm very excited about today's show for something no one's going to guess I'm excited about. It's the fact that we're going to have Dr. Anderson on, our eye care specialist. And what I love about that is people so rarely discuss eye care. We're always talking about all different kind of health issues and all that. We got two eyes. And if they're not working, you got one eye. And if that's not working, you got no eyes. And it's not something we have replaced. There aren't new eyes you can get. You got to take care of these things. You know? And so we're going to spend some time. We want to know your eye care questions, everything from like back to school for kids. I never even thought about that. How often a child doesn't do well in school because they don't realize they have a vision problem.
Oh, yeah.
So that's coming up in the show. So start in with your questions. You can text them. You can call us 713-440-8870 or email those questions, talk@hellohouston.org. Can you tell I'm excited?
Yeah, well, and I don't mean this in a downer way, but a lot of people don't realize that eye cancer is prevalent.
Yeah.
I mean, your eyes are just as much an organ like any other organ in your body.
Never even thought of that.
Yeah, you have to take care of them. But I have a lot of questions.
Yeah, so we want to get your questions, though. So that's why I'm pushing it right now at the top of the show to get those questions in. Because what always happens is we get into a call-in segment and people wait, and then finally like, all right, I'll ask, and we're out of time.
Yeah, what time does he come on?
He's going to be our first guest. So after we get done chatting about the news.
Okay, so.
But I'm one of those people that's very hard-headed, where I don't look good in glasses. So I am not going to go to the eye doctor.
Well,
I don't want. But I'm getting to that point where I pick up the menu and I'm like holding it far away, and then I'm holding it close to me, and then I'm holding it.
Yep.
Not going to do
You'll
it.
get to the point where your arms You'll get to the point where your arms aren't long enough anymore, and then you'll have to succumb.
Yeah, right.
But there are eye drops. We'll talk to him about this too. You can put eye drops in your eyes now that will correct your vision for a period of time for reading up close and stuff. We'll get into all that. It's a lot to talk about.
Very interesting.
You might not look good at a cast either, but if you don't wear your glasses.
I'm going to have it,
You know what, though? Also another thing, and this affects what you often talk about, Frank, which is weather. Weather affects your vision, and through allergies and how you see, and
even
in
dry
the air.
weather without the humidity. A lot of us are used to that little moistening up of the eye. You get into a dry environment, and suddenly you're blinking. You're trying to moisturize your eye, and it can itch and hurt, and all kinds.
And should you rub your eyes? Should you scratch your eyes? You're like, I want to sometimes.
He's just full of.
Really?
Oh my God, I had too much coffee this morning.
He's just full. We're just going to stop right there.
He's just full of it.
The eyes have it.
The eyes
have it.
Speaking of the weather,
you know what? If you like what we've been having, you're going to love it again today. It's just hot, not too humid, and these evenings.
Have been nice.
Of course, I'll be at the Benson Boone concert. That's a whole other thing. But
Benson
these
who?
evenings, Stop
Never
it.
heard of him.
I hear he covers Adele, and he's amazing.
That's what I've heard, that it's fantastic.
I'm excited to hear it. Me and 25,000 screaming teenage
little girls. I was going to say, some of my daughter's not going, but a couple of her friends are going.
Well, and they'll sing the songs, and I'll never hear him.
Yeah.
Then this is what happens. Everybody stands up. They never sit down.
Turn up the hearing.
I know. Anyway,
Okay,
the weather, it looks like it's been no big changes. It continues, maybe a better chance of rain toward the end of the weekend. But until then, we're in good shape.
Over to Benson Boone again for a second. Have you been following this whole thing with these baseball teams that do almost like they're the Harlem Globetrotters, but they're baseball?
Savannah Bananas.
Yes.
And
Atlanta
they're
Bananas.
coming. They're in Houston. We're gonna try to
So
get
one of them was on CNN a few weeks back, and to open the segment, he did a big flip. And he fell and hurt himself, and they had to cut the segment.
Yes.
Every time Benson Boone goes on stage, I fear for my life and his that he is going to do one of those flips off the piano, and he's not going to land well, because you could land poorly.
It's like when Pink does her fly around. And I'm like, please don't have anything happen to her.
Yeah,
I know. I got
anyway,
you.
I
Beyonce had that scare. Remember, she was in the car and the cable broke.
Oh yeah, it just kind of dangled there for a while.
Dangling is bad, Ernie. Dangling is not
she
good.
had traffic trouble in Houston. Anyway, so you can tell we've had a little too much caffeine in this group today, and there's a box of donuts in our office.
And they won't open them.
They're not sharing. They're just sitting there.
Keep walking by them.
Yeah, so that's what we're dealing with today. But the nation is dealing with other things. Big
Not
news
laughing
that
gas.
happened yesterday kind of caught us all, I think, a little off guard. Not that I think it should have in the current climate we're in, and we've seen these situations happening. So, Celeste, lead us off with today's news.
Yes, ABC announced Wednesday it's pulling Jimmy Kimmel Live off the air indefinitely. The sudden move followed threats from the chairman of the Federal Communications Commission to the stations that carry the show, and backlash to comments Kimmel made this week about the assassination of conservative podcaster Charlie Kirk. During his monologue on Monday, Kimmel took a few jabs at President Trump, as he has done many times before. But it was what Kimmel said right before that upset people, including President Trump.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them, and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
After those comments aired, Nexstar, which operates 32 ABC stations around the country, announced it was pulling Kimmel's show. Sinclair Broadcast Group was next. On Truth Social, President Trump congratulated ABC for its courage in shutting down Kimmel's show. One of the questions coming out of all of this is, do politics and late night mix? Speaking to 60 Minutes in 1979, former king of late night, Johnny Carson, says no.
Do you get sensitive about the fact that people say, he'll never take a serious controversy? Well, I have an answer to that. I said, now, tell me the last time that Jack Benny, Red Skelton, any comedian, used his show to do serious issues. That's not what I'm there for. Can't they see that? But you're not. Why do they think that just because you have a Tonight Show that you must deal in serious issues? It's a danger. It's a real danger. Once you start that, you start to get that self-important feeling that what you say has great import. And, you know, strangely enough, you could use that show as a forum. You could sway people, and I don't think you should as an entertainer.
What do you think? Do you agree with ABC's actions? Or is this an attack on free speech? Do you like politics mixed in with your late night talk? Now is the time to join Hello Houston. You can give us a call or send us a text at 713-440-8870.
It's a tough one. A lot of people immediately go to freedom of the press, freedom of speech. But when you have an FCC license as a broadcast company, you do have certain public interest, I think, reliability. And I think that they have been poking fun at politicians for 25, 30 years on late night television. So when you watch it, you know what you're getting yourself into, and you shouldn't be shocked or surprised. If you don't want to listen to it, then change the channel. So for the government to come in, or anyone to come in and say, we're going to shut you down because of what you said politically, is a very strong statement.
We hit into the area of First Amendment rights and what exactly that entails. And we'll try and get in the next few days someone on to talk more deeply about that. But the fact being that it's the government is supposed to government agency is not supposed to take sides, that the First Amendment speech is protected in certain areas where a business, an entity, a company can make the decisions of what a company puts out. And so it's not the same protections as you get as a citizen or under government, that a company can control the message that company shares. And Jimmy Kimmel is employed by ABC and on up that chain all the way to Disney. And so they have a right to be able to choose what they broadcast and don't broadcast because they are a commercial entity. The interesting part for me in all of this is that that's why we have public media. That public media is supposed to be not beholden to advertisers and all of that, but then you see on the national level pulling funding from that too. So there's a lot at play in this. I know I'm giving you a word salad right now, but there's so much to it that's going on even in my head about it that I can understand a company, especially when the first grouping of stations started pulling the show, the company looks at its bottom line right away. You know, had 100 stations suddenly said we're picking up Kimmel, maybe that would have been a very different play out.
Right.
But then you go to the FCC head saying, you know, it's this or the highway, you know, you can do it the easy way or the hard way. Then it becomes a mafia gang threat kind of speech there that's concerning. Yes, Celeste?
And again, we want to invite you to the conversation, 713-440-8870. Jake from Kingwood is on the line. Jake, welcome to Hello Houston. What are your thoughts or comments about this?
Hi, thanks for having me all. I just wanted to say, of course, there is a commercial consideration for ABC to make, but and you know, serious politics should be handled by PBS and NPR, you know, public media. But at the same time, they have an obligation. They are the American Broadcasting Corporation to deliver, you know, real commentary. And Johnny Carson might be a great, you know, figure in entertainment, but I think he's wrong. Art is political and comedy is art. Charlie Chaplin famously satirized Hitler in The Dictator. I think that it's the duty of entertainers to hold up a mirror to those in power and to be a voice for the masses. So I think this is a bad decision from ABC, and it seems like they're trying to curry favor with regulators.
That's a good point, Jake.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think Jake brings up an interesting point, right? Is what type of country are we when comedians cannot mock elected officials on late night? When you're in a place where it is not allowed, or you can lose your job if you are mocking or making a joke about a leader or an elected official. I mean, where does that put us when you put it within that frame? And I think it's very interesting because there are two parts to it, in that ABC is a business. We are looking at it from a commercial perspective. We're also looking at it from a free speech perspective, and it challenges when you have the president calling out ABC and or thanking them, and you have the FCC chairman, you know, basically saying, Brendan Carr thanking Nexstar as well. It starts to challenge the free speech and complicate the anti-cancel culture that, you know, the conservatives have often said that they're against cancel culture. And are we canceling Jimmy Kimmel, right? Well, and cancel culture is essentially a group of people collectively saying, we don't agree with you. So did Jimmy get himself canceled?
Well, to your point, Here There on YouTube says the comment that he made was directed at the administration, not to Charlie Kirk. It was not a comment about Charlie Kirk, defamatory or disagreeable or disrespectful of any kind. It was directed to MAGA and the administration.
And Jimmy
that's an important point you make.
Right. And Jimmy Kimmel also came out and did clarify and make a change, a retraction to what he had said about MAGA. And, you know, that happens. Sometimes we don't get it right. And as long as journalists or comedians or entertainers, we come out and make it right. Again, 713-440-8870. We have a call from Paul from Friendswood. Paul, welcome to Hello Houston. What is your comment or question?
Hey, guys. How we doing? Welcome. Thank you for having me yet again on your show. I love you guys. I love all the conversations you're having. I have two things to say about this. One, every single late night show has been losing money for the last 5-6 years. Nobody's on television network as much as they used to be. We have people who are YouTubers who are getting 5, 6, 7 million views per day, where these people can't even hit that per week. So that's one of the things. I think they fired Jimmy based on not wanting to pay a contract. Second thing, I think what we're really dealing with here is the opposite of cancel culture. It's the culmination of the left pushing so hard that the right has no choice but to push back. And this leftover is what we're getting. Unfortunate what happened to Jimmy. But then again, there's other people who are on the news asking for the death of the homeless. So that person needs to get fired as well. We're getting to a point where the things that we say are so in front of everybody that anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of public opinion. Thank you guys for having me. Love you guys. See you later.
Thank you, Paul. I would only say that it's true of all television shows.
Right.
All television shows are losing money and have been. Budgets have dropped an easy 40% across the board. So it's not just late night. It's news shows. It's entertainment. There are no more soap operas on TV. Because they lost money.
They cost too much money.
I loved all my children, but
Just
they're gone.
To clarify something that Paul said, too, if you haven't been following this, it was Brian Kilmeade over on Fox who made reference when they were talking about the homeless situation and that gentleman in Atlanta who had stabbed the woman in the neck and killed her, that in his comments talking about that, he said maybe lethal injection to the homeless could be one of the problems.
And he retracted that.
So he did retract it, but I just want, for people who didn't know why he said that comment about it.
713-440-8870. Let's go to Dennis from Hobby Airport.
Dennis,
Hello.
are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay, speak now.
Enjoying the show as usual, and Charlie Kirk says, very nice.
Dennis, you know what? I'm going to have to stop you right there. Try calling us back. We got a really bad line with you, and we want to hear what you have to say, so try giving us a call back.
Or text us.
us. The number he should be calling is 713-440-8870, just as Brittany has. Brittany, what's on your mind?
So the people in power shutting down voices they don't like because they say things that they don't like is authoritarianism. Like, everyone who sees this should be terrified by it. Like, the government should not be shutting down voices that upset them because it hurt their feelings.
Well, public broadcast knows that very well, Brittany, so we're feeling that pain, trust me.
Brittany, thank you for your call. 713-440-8870. Steve from Cyprus is on the line. Steve, what's on your mind?
Good morning, folks. As always, I appreciate your programming. I think that you have to recognize that somebody can have the free speech. Mr. Kimmel still does have that right. He doesn't have the right to demand that a network finance his podium. The best example we've seen of this ever, I think, is the Dixie Chicks. Years ago, attacked George W. Bush on a foreign stage, and nobody said they couldn't talk that way anymore. They just stopped buying the records, just like people will stop watching ABC if they continue to promote Kimmel.
It's a good point. It is a consumer universe when it comes to entertainment and media, especially in the for-profit media world. And people do vote. They vote by either not watching or supporting. I do want to go back to something somebody said a little earlier about, the folks online. Many of these late-night shows really, even though their ratings have gone down, they are thriving in YouTube clips and online. And so there is another profit stream coming in for them. So if you look at just the ratings alone, that doesn't give you the full economic picture of how profitable or how successful a late night show could be. They may not need the ratings on TV, but their segments are getting phenomenal views online.
And
Yes,
the merch alone.
But I also think that there's a counterpoint to that is nowadays there are a lot of independent journalists that get way more views than ABC on their YouTube channel. It's one of those things where that no longer has a major play in it.
You have to wonder, Celeste, when does the government decide that YouTube and podcast and these other free forms of speech also need to be licensed and also need to be shut down if they're saying too much that we don't like? That's right. The door is open.
Yeah.
And again, 713-440-8870, all very interesting points. Paul from Midtown is on the line. Paul, welcome to Hello Houston.
Yeah, I was just going to make a comment. First of all, enjoy your show. I know you guys have been on since March. Great. Listen to you guys at 2 hours every day.
Thank you.
All this is the shakedown. It's a shakedown, just like our president shook down CBS, ABC earlier with Stephanopoulos. But all of this is the FCC chairman even told the company wants to buy Tigna stations around the country. Hey, if you guys want us to approve your merger, you're going to have to take care of this now. And that's what they did.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they did. ABC, they heard they were going to 30 of the stations, possible stations they were going to buy. Well, then you know what? We'll get rid of them. We'll shut them up. And that's ridiculous. Anytime you're going to shut somebody up just because you don't want to hear what they're joking about, you can't handle a joke. That's how thin-skinned our president is. But the rest of his government's the same way. And then they shake them down. Hey, you need to apologize. And by the way, you apologize and you donate money to Mr. Kirk's a nonprofit. That's a shakedown. That's ridiculous. I'm sorry he's off the air. I barely watched him at all. But the thing is, when you're doing this to a TV show, you can just change the channel. That's all you got to do. But they're so bent out of shape that they're making fun of us. Let's squeeze them where it hurts, and that's what it is. And I'm sorry that's the case right now. But all we're seeing is just they're shaking down everybody for money.
Paul, thank you for those comments. 713-440-8870. Dennis is back with us from Hobby. Let's see if we got a better line this time. Dennis, talk to us.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Much better.
Okay, good. So I don't think Charlie Kirk has been criticized nearly strong enough. I will say that I pretty much quit watching television in general over 30 years ago. Don't have much need for it. But I think there's new sources of information that are becoming available, through the internet, YouTube, and all that. I don't think Charlie Kirk was anybody to be celebrated. And this is part of the corporate fascist takeover of America, or at least they're trying. But I won't take up all your time. Thanks for hearing my opinion.
John, thank you for calling.
All right, let's go to John on the line. That was Dennis from Hobby.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, here's John. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, from Northwest Houston. What do you have to say, sir?
Well, this is nothing that hasn't happened before from both sides of the spectrum in terms of people trying to silence voices. The Democrats have done it too. But I think what we have here is really a groundswell of people that brought this up and brought it to the appropriate government people's attention. And Jimmy didn't get canceled. He can say whatever he wants. What he did was he lied about the facts of the situation, trying to create a narrative that just was absolutely not true. So that's my comment.
All right, thank you. Let's go to Garissa from Sugar Land. Do you have something to say on that?
Just before we go, I just want to go back. So because it's been a while since we played the clip, I just want to remind folks again what was actually said. He said the MAGA gang is trying desperately to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. Just so we reset. Okay.
Oh, Garissa dropped. But if you'd like to try back in, we've been getting a lot of calls. This is a very emotional subject.
And I also think, I'm sorry, go ahead.
On the surface of it, it feels like we're being censored. It feels like the government is censoring what they don't like. And as we discussed in our pre-meeting, whenever you take over a country, the first thing you do is take over their communications, take over their media. That's how everyone talks to each other. You take over their internet, you take over their television, you take over their phone lines. That's how we all can unify. And you take that away, the unification that is in opposition to you will go away.
I do think that this feels, when we look at, you're seeing major names from the top major names, but you're also seeing teachers. You're also seeing business people that are being fired for comments that they have said. And it feels like, yes, this is not necessarily the first time. I believe it was the McCartney area that there was something similar to this, but it is different in that it feels like there's a changing norm of free speech that's happening right now currently within this country.
Because that's always been our safe space. We've been able to say, as long as you're not yelling fire in a crowded theater, you have the right to say what you want. And if you don't like what that person is saying, then don't watch. And this is now saying the administration saying, no, we're not going to let people say anything that we don't like.
I want to go back.
That's what's scary.
I want to go back to a moment, too, from earlier when we played the Johnny Carson clip, and he was talking about other hosts of late-night shows, but not to confuse the fact he listed Jack Benny and Red Skelton as comedians who didn't venture into that. But he was at an era where he could have said Lenny Bruce or George Carlin, who definitely did use comedy to question what was happening in the world around us. So those were selected words he chose, but he was talking late.
This is a lot like the 60s, as the governor of Utah pointed out.
Yeah, and don't forget the Smothers Brothers. They had a TV show, and they were pulled from the air because because it wasn't falling in.
We
with
have Michael from
thoughts.
League City on the line. Michael, what are your thoughts here on Hello Houston?
Hi, I'd just like to say I think we rush to the broader issue, and I know there is a broader issue and other incidents, but if you look at just this incident and just the content of what was said, I thought, number one, it was a dopey thing to say, to imply that this killer was a MAGA person. I mean, I've only listened to the basic news. There is no indication in that direction at all. It's quite the opposite. But, so why say that? Is he aware of the facts? Number two, I just think it was a very insensitive comment to make. I know he didn't address the Charlie Kirk person, but it's just, you just don't do that. You don't go for a joke 2 days after a murder. That's just not appropriate. So I think, I don't know what the executives were thinking, but those two things to me were very unacceptable. And I echo what other people have said. Free speech is there, but that doesn't mean we have to broadcast it or require it to be broadcasted and so on. And private companies can do what they wish. And I would say I'm with Johnny Carson. I listen to the news. I'm depressed enough. If I turn on entertainment, I do not want to hear the same thing raked over. So I don't watch a lot of late night, even if I would want to.
Well, I agree, but shock jocks have been known to say things the day of when tragedies occur in this country, and they make jokes that very day, and they get away with it and have for a long time. But time would make this maybe a little more acceptable, but I doubt it.
And just to clarify, as we continue this conversation, I just want us all on the same page to have heard exactly what was said. So Tom is ready to play the clip again. This is Jimmy Kimmel from the other night. This is what is the area that we believe is what he said that led to all of what happened.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
It was just to be clear with what was actually said.
Pretty strong indication from his grandmother that the family was MAGA and that they did have a very conservative ideology. That doesn't mean he did. They in fact said
I
that
don't
he
believe
had
the
gone on
quote
left.
is saying he was or implying he was. What they were talking, what Jimmy Kimmel is talking about, from what I glean from it, is that a group of MAGA are trying to make sure people don't see this guy as MAGA. Is that factually correct or not? He's not saying that the kid was or wasn't MAGA. He's talking about a MAGA group pushing a certain direction.
Again, 713-440-8870. We understand there's a lot to unpack and a lot to talk about. Alan is joining us from Richmond. Alan, welcome to Hello Houston. What are your thoughts or questions?
Hello, Houston. How are you?
Good. How are you? What's your comment?
Censorship. I've been just waiting online, listening to a lot of comments about shakedowns and censorship. The United States government is not censoring Jimmy Kimmel. It's a network that decided that they thought it was against their interest to have him. So it's not censorship. If a network decides they want to censor somebody, that's a business decision. It's not the government. A lot of people are mistakenly paralleling that to Trump and the government. And I heard callers talking about shakedowns, and the guy was just making a joke. But, you just played the clip. That didn't sound like a joke to me. And once again, I think that's the decision of a network, whether they think it's in their interest to air something. And there's something to be said when you have a whole bunch of syndicates saying, we're not for this, we don't like this. I
would-
hardly think that's censorship.
It would be interesting to know in what order these events happened, because the chairman of the FCC was on TV yesterday or in podcast or wherever talking about, this isn't right. We need to, it can either be done the easy way or the hard way, implying, we're going to take action if this isn't changed. So where was the horse and where was the cart in this particular situation? If it was purely a decision by ABC that they are looking at their bottom line and Kimmel wasn't performing, absolutely, they have every right to decide what their programming is and what they air and what they don't air and the consequences of their actions. I think the question becomes, were they strong-armed? Is there the idea that a merger that they want to take on isn't going to happen because the government has to approve it and the government is saying you've got to do this for that to happen? I think that's where it gets into the murkiness of it. I don't think anyone is questioning whether a network has the right to decide their programming.
Right.
Against-
Nexstar felt threatened for their merger with Tegna, that it wouldn't go through, the FCC wouldn't approve it if they didn't take this action. So there's the strong arm.
Do we know that as
That's been
fact
reported.
or assumption?
Again,
It's been reported.
713-440-8870. Let's go to Nicole from Spring. Nicole, welcome to Hello Houston.
Hi, I just wanted to say I think it's awful what happened to Charlie Kirk. I didn't agree with the things that he said, but I think it is very ironic that a man that stood about the constitutional right to be able to say what you believe, now that everything is being censored. And so the caller who just called in, I totally agree with what you guys just said. I mean, to think that the government has no effect on ABC, and I mean, they regulate certain things, right? And so clearly they would have an effect on that decision. And the last thing I want to say is just that I think it's, maybe Jimmy Kimmel didn't have all of the information. I think it's ironic how we're talking about, or a little bizarre that we're talking about an entertainer where we had Kash Patel who was going and giving information, tweeting information, or putting it on X or on social media, saying that the person was caught and he and that person hadn't been caught, and we give more credence to what people say who are public figures versus people who are actually working in the government, and they say awful things all of the time, and they also do things that jeopardize our government, but we don't ever say anything about that. We focus on these other people who are entertainers, and we just kind of overlook and gloss over the fact that they don't always do their job correctly.
Okay.
Nicole, thank you very
Nicole.
much for that.
And we know that the calls are coming in, and we will revisit this topic right at the top of our second hour on Hello Houston. So stay with us, because coming up on Hello Houston, Dr. John Anderson of Anderson Eye Care will take your questions. This is News 88.7.
With federal support gone, Houston Public Media needs a stronger foundation for the future. The Houston Public Media Resiliency Fund is our response to ensure this service remains strong, stable, and community-powered. Your gift today helps us stay on the air tomorrow and the day after that. Give now to the Resiliency Fund at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 800-364-8300.
7.
1 in 20 children is allergic to peanuts in the U.S., but some clinical trials are showing promise that sufferers may one day again safely eat nuts.
Every single child, 100% of the participants, achieved the final goal of being able to eat the equivalent of as much peanut butter as would be in a sandwich.
Zeroing in on cures for allergy sufferers. That's next time on Think.
You can hear that tonight at 10 o'clock.
An ER doctor volunteers to serve in Gaza.
It's about 6 o'clock in the morning, and that's what we're waking up to.
She's shocked by how many patients are children, and she wants U.S. policymakers to do something about it.
We're about to walk into Senator Thune's office, Majority Leader of the Senate.
But are they listening? On the next Reveal.
Reveal is on Saturday afternoon at 2 o'clock.
Support comes from Smart Financial Center in Sugar Land, presenting John Cleese, 50 Years of Monty Python and the Holy Grail, Friday, September 19th. Screening is followed by an audience Q&A with Cleese. Tickets at smartfinancialcenter.com. Support for Houston Public Media comes from listeners like you and from Baylor College of Medicine. Through research and innovation, Baylor continues to redefine what's possible in healthcare and medical discovery.
And now back to Hello Houston. Call 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org to get your comment in on today's topics. Now back to Ernie Manouse, Celeste Díaz Schurman, and Frank Billingsley.
Many call-in topics you're familiar with, and we revisit them often. Politics, sports, emotional challenges, ask a doctor, ask a vet, even ask a gardener. But what about eye care? Unlike a scrape or a cut that we can just clean out, put a little ointment on, slap a Band-Aid on it, and you're on your way, what is a minor injury and what needs to be looked at when it comes to your eyes? What about poor vision? Can it be improved, or should you worry about a slow decline of it? What should students, teachers, and parents know about poor eyesight? And we haven't even touched on detached retinas or bacteria-eating mites. Today, we're bringing eye care into focus.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you like that. Joining us to take your calls, text, and questions, ophthalmologist Dr. John Anderson of the Anderson Eye Care Center is with us. You can call in with your questions, 713-440-8870, or talk at hellohouston.org. Dr. Anderson, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
I first became concerned with eye care. I got a scrape in my eye because of a piece of cardboard went in it, and I'd never thought about eye care until that moment. I'd never thought, wait a minute, is this something I should worry about or not? And then somebody said, what about scarring? And then I thought, oh my God, if it scars, is my vision gone off? And I started realizing how little we really pay attention to our eyes. I think we often just take them for granted.
Yeah, it's something that you don't want to forget about. It's very easy to try and ignore it and just say, oh no, it's a little scratch, or my eyes just feel irritated or itchy, and those are some signs that maybe something else could be going on that's more important.
When is the first point that you should make the decision it's worth going to see someone about? I mean, people get dust in their eye. We were talking about this at the top of the show. We have great weather for stuff being in the air. When is it really of concern, and when is it just living our lives?
That's a hard decision to make. Most of the time, I think if it lasts longer than, half a day or something along those lines, if it's multiple days, then you really should probably get it looked at and taken care of. But if it's something that's just for 30 minutes or something, I'm probably going to be okay.
I have a friend who has macular degeneration in both eyes. And the first eye, he took a little while to get to the eye doctor. Yeah. And the eye doctor said, as soon as you get a fuzziness, as soon as the clarity is not there, especially if you're over 70, as soon as that happens, go to the eye doctor. Do not wait. And so when the second eye happened, he did. He went immediately, and they were able to correct it. So what is your take on macular degeneration?
So those are two different things.
Okay.
The first being it's some sort of sensation is kind of where I was coming from on your thought, Ernie, was that if you feel something on the outside, that's different than your vision as a whole. So something that's affecting your retina, like macular degeneration, those are visual aspects that are more important. If you lose vision for 15 seconds, that could be something bad. That if it's 15 minutes, that could be even worse. If we're talking about 30 minutes to an hour, that could be signs of a stroke. You need to go to the emergency room.
So as soon as your vision is affected.
As soon as your vision is affected. In macular degeneration, some of the things that you're going to notice are like straight lines. A straight line will be perfect, and then all of a sudden you'll see straight line's good, and then you get a hump in the middle of the straight line. And this would be a line that you know is straight, like the edge of a window or the edge of a door. Those are things that you really need to pay attention to.
So if you call your ophthalmologist or don't even have one, a lot of people may not have one, and you say, I think I have MD going on here, will they get you in immediately? I mean, they understand that? Or should you go to an ER? What should you do?
No, if you think that you have macular degeneration, you should probably go see an ophthalmologist. I don't think you need to go to the emergency room for that. If you're having issues where most things can be done with an ophthalmologist's office, and almost better than sometimes in the emergency room. Now, where you need to go to the emergency room would be if you're having stroke-like symptoms. And when you have stroke-like symptoms, those would include something along like your numbness, tingling, or you lose vision and then it comes back. Those are bad things. Complete blackness, darkness, those are stroke-like issues. That's an emergency.
The other issues you're talking about, though, how quickly should you seek care? If you delay, is that harming your vision?
Delay is definitely harm. I would say that when you're feeling like something is wrong, you need to give them a call, and you should be in there in about a week.
So we did receive an email from Shannon Allen that says, please, please, please address treatments for dry eye. I have it so bad it causes pain. And thank you so much. And it was actually from Chris.
Awesome.
Okay.
So dry eye is a culprit for all things and everything. We think that, this humidity helps us a lot, which it does. Our dryness isn't as bad as it could be if we were in Arizona. However, dry eye is this huge conglomerate of everything that affects the surface. So that goes down to the lids, that goes down to just the surface and the mucus across the eye. So I think one of the biggest things that I see in my practice is that the lids are always a concern. And if the lids are not working properly, such that there's oil it's too oily or it's too thick and it's not working properly, then your tears are going to evaporate too fast. So some of the easiest things you can do is address the lid and then artificial tears to coat the surface.
I have a friend that has surfer's eye. Very rare.
Interesting.
I know, from California, but he's had an operation on both eyes. And can you explain? It's where there's like a surface filmness that approaches the retina, and has to be really removed. It has to be scraped away.
It's probably not technically going to the retina. It's probably more going across the surface. So I don't know exactly what you're talking about. It could be a pterygium, which would make sense in that idea.
I think that's the right name for it.
And that would be pterygium is a growth that goes across the cornea, and it starts from the white part of the eye and goes across the surface. And then you can peel it off. And that happens in surfers, welders, construction workers, anybody that's a farmer, anybody that's outside all the time with wind and sun. That exposure causes the eye to dry out, causes irritation, and it will lead to growth across the surface.
Well, and they say get rid of it before it gets to the eye.
Yeah, so you need to, if you're noticing a red spot or something growing across the cornea, that's never a good thing. And the cornea starts where the colored part, the iris, begins and the white ends.
Quickly, when you talk about artificial tears, I'm always confused. There's saline, there's artificial tears. Is there a difference between that? What should you be putting in your eyes? First part of the question. Answer that first.
I prefer a preservative-free type tear, which typically comes in a vial, or you can find some that have a fancy tip on the end that are kind of more round. But I prefer that because the preservative in the tear itself can cause some irritation, so I like the preservative-free ones. They're slightly different than saline. They have a little bit more coating surface and help with the tear going across and surface tension and those fancy things.
Whenever I put an eye drop in, I blink, 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 thinking I'm getting it all over the eye. Somebody told me, no, once you put in, just close your eye and keep it closed for a little bit to hold it. Which is the right way when you put in a drop?
I think, your eyes can only hold about half of a drop anyway. So there's not a lot of space there in between your lids and the surface. So just putting it in, close your eye, and then it'll go where it needs to go.
What about eye wipes? How about eye wipes?
So that's back to the lid, and that's back to focusing specifically on the lid, where tears are more on the surface. And so all of those work together in this huge circle of dryness.
So, Dr. Anderson,
lids are good.
We received an email that says, I just had retina surgery for a detached retina. The doctor told me that I did not need to do anything other than have a birthday, as in get older. Is there anything that people can do to help prevent retina tears or detachment? Thank you, Thomas.
So that's a hard question because it's everybody's retinal detachment is different.
Okay.
Some just occur because you get older. Some occur because of other diseases like diabetes. Some occur because your eyes have a lot of prescription. Some occur because you get hit in the eye. So it's really hard to kind of lump it all in together. So that's a hard question to really answer. The best thing would be just get your eyes evaluated. There's a lot of things that we can see in the eye that are precursors to maybe a retinal detachment, such as thinning in the peripheral part of the retina that puts you more at risk. And then we can tell you you look like you may be at risk for a retinal detachment. You should probably stay away from certain ideas or certain things that you're doing.
We do have a call, Josie from the Heights. Josie, what's your question for Dr. Anderson?
Hi, Dr. Anderson. My question is about cataract surgery types, the pros and cons, whether, like what they are for if you get a bifocal contact, lens, or
lens.
if you use a laser for the surgery or you do manual. I know the prices are different and big differences. So, I've been quoted with the laser for bifocal, like $4,500 an eye with a good insurance that I have. And that's it.
That's a bombshell question there. Yeah. That's a lot on there. I'll try and keep it middle of the road on that. Cataracts are very, very common. Every single person gets a cataract surgery. That's what I typically do is cataract surgery. I do that the majority of the time. And there's multiple options that are available. When you use your insurance is covering the treatment of a cataract by removing the cataract, putting in a new lens inside the eye, and it is to focus at one focal length, and that's a standard lens that is created. So one focal length being mainly distance. Now you can have one eye distant, one eye near. That's like monovision, which some people do with their contacts. But the typical straightforward standard way is to put in a lens that is both eyes are distance and you need to use readers. And that's what insurance will cover. Anything else insurance considers a cosmetic improvement because it's limiting how much you rely on glasses after the fact, and most of that being reading glasses. So in order for our bodies to go from distance to near, the lens inside of our eye has to flex. And the older we get, the more stiff it gets, and the harder it is to flex, and that's why people need reading glasses. When we put a new lens inside the eye, that lens cannot flex. It does not move, and they've tried to design multiple different designs and types of lenses that will flex, and we can't ever get it right, and that's okay because our body's an amazing thing. And because we replace that lens, and it doesn't flex, then you're going to need reading glasses. So your options are to use other types of lenses that are considered premium lenses that will help you see both distance and near. And then there's different options and techniques that you can use for surgery that help with lasers, and lasers will help break up the lens and put the opening in the capsule so that it centers the lens, and the intraocular lens that goes in your eye is nicely centered and in the right place so that it works properly.
Quick question about reading glasses. My brother buys a pair that are $80.
Yeah.
I buy them $1.25 at the dollar store. Are either of us getting better glasses, or doesn't it really matter?
The difference is the quality of the optics in the lens. And so the cheaper lens that you're going to buy that's reader over the counter, that's typical $5, you'll notice that when you move your head side to side, the vision kind of comes in and out.
But does it do any damage?
It doesn't hurt anything.
Okay.
But you spend more, when you move your eye, it's more consistent.
What is a sty? We have a question about sties. I get sties.
I know all about
They're
that.
so annoying. What is a sty, and what's the best way to get rid of it?
At one point, I'm not joking, there was like 2 people on our Hello Houston team
It's
that
so
had
common.
them. And I was like, everybody stay away from me.
The
Are they
styes have it.
contagious?
No.
Okay.
Okay, where do
Not
they
really.
come from, and how to get rid of them?
It's back to the lid. And so the lid has little oil glands in it. And those oil glands are important for coating the surface of the eye so that the tears don't evaporate. When the consistency of that oil gets too bad and too thick, then the gland can't express the oil, gets stuck, it's like a pimple.
I've heard baby shampoo is a great thing to use with a sty because it won't hurt your eyes, but it'll clean your lids.
I'm a fan of OcuSoft or
I use those.
Or any other brand out there that has kind of eyelid cleanser. I also like Cetaphil. Basically, it's a very mild soap that won't affect your eye, but will help clean it.
Should we keep a little baby shampoo in our shower and just clean our eyes every day, just like we clean our hair?
I think that, yes, absolutely.
There you go.
And heat it up.
Sty's cured.
That's
So
Heat up the shampoo.
I
or
just
the
have a
Heat up the lid. The lid needs heat, and then that will express the oil, and then you wash away the oil with some mild soap.
I have a simple aesthetic question. I often look at my eyes, and sometimes one looks smaller than the other.
Mm-hmm.
The other day, my daughter walked in the bathroom. She's like, I was getting ready, and she's like, "Mommy, is one eye smaller than the other?" Asking me about her own eyes. Is that normal?
100% normal.
Does most people have?
Nobody has a completely symmetrical face. If you take your face and flip it over on the other side, it's going to be totally off.
So it's normal to have one eye that's a little bigger than the other. Right. I would say Dr. Anderson told me.
That's okay.
Okay, back to reading glasses and such. And we've talked about this actually in your office. It's those vision correction eye drops.
Yeah.
A friend of mine is obsessed with them. I have gotten a vial of it, and now I haven't used it yet because I'm too scared to use them. But do they work? Don't they work? What's going on there?
They do work. They work for a certain amount of time, and some people like it better than others. It depends on how much near activity you need. It helps with your accommodation, and it helps by changing the shape of your pupil, helps by flexing that lens, and it gives you a little bit of power. Now, if you need a whole bunch, if you're wearing +3s, it may not help for as much as if you're wearing a +1.25.
But not, it's for just a few hours it lasts.
Just for a few hours.
So see, Celeste, you could do reading glasses, but not use glasses. Just put the drops in your eyes.
Yes. How often should we be going to get an exam?
Once you hit a certain age, I don't know, around 40, you should probably get your eyes examined.
I feel attacked.
And then once you probably get it evaluated, and then once you hit 50, it should probably be once a year.
Oh yeah, so for older
people. Things change in your eye. It's really important that we look at your retina and that your retina has been evaluated, because that's something that we can't see without being dilated or having a very good eye exam. And there's things in there that we can see, like the blood vessels that you can't see anywhere else in your body. We have direct view of your blood vessels. So
what's glaucoma, real quick?
Glaucoma is pressure.
Right.
And so pressure pushes on your optic nerve, causes visual loss from the sides. You don't know you have glaucoma until you go get your eyes checked. And so, or it's so late that you've lost all of your peripheral vision and you're looking through a telescope. And so that's sometimes people do that. Just like high blood pressure. Don't know you have high blood pressure until you get your
I'm going to give you 10 seconds to tell parents why it's important to have your kids checked with school just starting.
Same thing. You got to have your retina looked at. We got to make sure that you're not needing glasses, because one eye could need glasses and the other doesn't. And if you don't
think you have dyslexia when we really just need good vision.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Ophthalmologist Dr. John Anderson of Anderson Eye Care. Thank you for joining us today on Hello
Appreciate
Houston.
It. Thanks, guys.
Coming up, we'll continue our discussion earlier in this hour. Coming up in the second hour. Stay with us as Hello Houston continues.
Stay tuned. There's more Hello Houston on the way with Ernie Manouse, Celeste Díaz Schurman, and Frank Billingsley. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at HoustonPublicMedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
Your support for Houston Public Media powers the programs you trust and rely on. And your employer may help your contribution go even further. Many employers sponsor matching gift programs, doubling or even tripling employee contributions. It's an easy way to maximize your impact on the programs you rely on. Search for your company and get started today at HoustonPublicMedia.org/match.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from Hildebrand MBA at UT Austin's McComb School of Business, offering the weekend MBA at Houston. Campus visit September 20th. Details at TexasMBAEvents.com. Make it
Support comes from Elmore, communicating with clarity and inspiration, collaborating with executive leadership to create expert internal and external communications strategy. Elmore, listen, clarify, communicate. More at elmorepr.com. For more local news happening in the Houston area, go to our website, houstonpublicmedia.org. This is News 88.7.
Looks like we have a chance of a shower or thunder shower later today. 30% chance of rain after 3 o'clock. This is your NPR station, KUHF, Houston. News 88.7, a service of the University of Houston. It's 12 o'clock.
Just ahead on this hour of Hello Houston, we'll continue diving into today's top stories, including media organizations calling for the records in Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton's divorce case to be made public. I'm Ernie Manouse.
And I'm Celeste Díaz Schurman. We'll also be joined by Nathan Brownell, CenterPoint Energy Vice President of Resilience and Capital Delivery. We'll discuss their updated resiliency plan.
And I'm Frank Billingsley. Plus, we'll also share a rundown of things that are currently taking over all our free time. From our regular Thursday feature, Current Obsessions. We want to know yours.
Give us a call or send us a text at 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. You can also watch us on YouTube by going to houstonpublicmedia.org and clicking the big orange banner.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. The Trump administration is now asking the U.S. Supreme Court to allow the president to fire Lisa Cook from the Federal Reserve's governing board days after a federal appeals court blocked Cook's dismissal. Without evidence, Trump has accused Cook of committing mortgage fraud. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer says his government will recognize a Palestinian state unless Israel commits to peace in Gaza. NPR's Frank Ordonez reports President Trump says he disagrees.
Prime Minister Keir Starmer, during a joint press conference, said he and President Trump agreed on the need to end the conflict in Gaza and secure the release of the hostages. Trump said he wants the immediate release of hostages and said that it's important to remember the Hamas-led attacks against Israel on October 7th, 2023. He acknowledged, though, that he had a different opinion regarding recognizing the Palestinian state.
I have a disagreement with the Prime Minister on that score. Okay. One of our few disagreements, actually.
France, Canada, and Australia have also said they would recognize a Palestinian state. Trump has said doing so would only reward Hamas. Franco Ordonez, NPR News.
A judge in Washington, D.C. has temporarily blocked the administration from deporting Guatemalan and Honduran children who were sent to the U.S. unaccompanied. U.S. District Judge Timothy Kelly extended a decision first issued over the Labor Day weekend. NPR's Jimena Bustillo reports.
Lawyers for dozens of minors say their clients fear going home and their removal would be a violation of their due process rights and federal law. Guatemalan President Bernardo Arevalo has told reporters he wanted to prevent vulnerable children from being sent to ICE detention centers. Arevalo says his officials have, quote, toured detention centers for Guatemalans and were, quote, very concerned for the young migrants. Nearly all the children were in the custody of Health and Human Services Department's Office of Refugee Resettlement and living at shelters in the Phoenix and Tucson areas. Kelly, who was appointed by Trump, granted a preliminary injunction that extends temporary protection indefinitely. The government can appeal this decision. Jimena Bustillo, NPR News, Washington.
A new study finds vitamin B3 supplements may help prevent a recurrence of skin cancer. NPR's Allison Aubrey reports a study included more than 33,000 veterans who've been treated for the disease.
Doctors who perform skin cancer surgeries often recommend nicotinamide, a form of vitamin B3. Small studies have shown it can help prevent non-melanoma skin cancers. The new research adds to the evidence, says study author Lee Wheelis of Vanderbilt University.
A 53% reduction in the risk of skin cancers among patients taking nicotinamide.
B3 supplements are widely available over the counter. The participants took 500 milligrams twice a day for at least 30 days. Allison Aubrey, NPR News.
This is NPR.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Alexandra Hart. Harris County commissioners will reconvene today to continue discussing potential cuts to services in order to bridge a more than $200 million budget deficit. Our Sarah Grunow reports that they will also consider a 45% salary increase for one elected official, a move that could worsen the deficit.
During a Salary Grievance Committee meeting on Tuesday, Harris County District Clerk Marilyn Burgess voted in favor of giving herself an $81,000 raise. That would bring her salary from about $179,000 to $260,000.
I am not so much unhappy about my salary amount as I am unhappy about the pay disparity between countywide elected officials and appointed department heads, and the way that some are chosen for big raises while the majority is ignored.
Burgess said that her office, which processed 5.8 million civil and criminal court documents last year, oversees 83 statutory courts and more than 30 specialty courts. On Thursday, commissioners will decide whether to approve her salary increase. I'm Sarah Grunow, News 88.7.
The Congressional Hispanic Caucus denounced a recent ruling from the U.S. Supreme Court that they say is an attack on Fourth Amendment rights. The ruling allows law enforcement to consider ethnicity, language, or occupation in immigration enforcement actions. San Antonio Democratic Congressman Joaquin Castro calls the ruling a green light for racial profiling.
This is not, quote unquote, reasonable suspicion. It's prejudice and it's racism that's being legalized.
Critics say the ruling poses a threat to protections against unreasonable searches and seizures. Authorities in Los Angeles have identified the decomposed remains found in a Tesla registered to Houston-raised singer David. The LA County Medical Examiner's Office said Wednesday the body belonged to 15-year-old Celeste Díaz. The Los Angeles Times reports the body was discovered at an impound lot on September 8th in a Tesla registered in Hempstead, Texas, to the singer, full name David Anthony Burke. Rivas was reported missing last year in Southern California. I'm Alexandra Hart, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include BetterHelp, committed to supporting mental health through therapy and helping clients find balance. Clients are matched with one of 30,000 therapists for online therapy from anywhere at betterhelp.com/public.
Live from Houston Public Media and News 88.7, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now, Hello Houston with Ernie Manouse, Celeste Díaz Schurman, and Frank Billingsley.
Hello, Houston.
Hello.
Did you ever say the date? I don't think you did.
Today is September 9th. September 9th?
No.
18th? Today's 9/18. I'm sorry, I'm a little frazzled. I ate the donut that everybody was talking about.
Which we're not.
We're still not supposed to have.
You took
We're
a
still not
donut.
supposed-
You took a donut.
I did. Somebody brought donuts. They put them in the middle of our
And why the heck,
workroom.
fire, did they do that and not
Exactly.
expect somebody to go after them?
And so everybody's been talking about the donuts. And
Yeah, it's
I
like
just
throwing
said,
bread in a park and telling the pigeons stay away. It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
It reminds me of those hidden camera. It reminds me of those hidden camera shows where they put them out and there's really a camera watching us to see how long we'll go before someone takes a donut. And so on the video, you're going to see people walk. It's going to be in black and white, of course. And it's going to be an odd bird eye view. And you're going to see people walking around. Suddenly you're going to see Celeste come by, look around, open the box, take the donut, scurry.
Well, there's
So,
always...
you know Amy Davis from Channel 2.
Uh-huh.
She has a delightful sense of humor. And for April Fool's, she put a box of Shipley donuts out. And everyone would come and open them, and there would be carrots and celery and things that are
and
good
broccoli.
for you.
That sounds so good.
Well, yes, but
It was very funny.
we have been chatting all morning. We've had a busy first hour. We know that there's a lot to discuss and talk about, some major things that were happening earlier. And all morning long, we've been discussing. ABC announced Wednesday it's pulling Jimmy Kimmel Live off the air indefinitely. The sudden move followed threats from the chairman of the Federal Communications Commission to the stations that carry the show, and backlash to comments Kimmel made this week about the assassination of conservative podcaster Charlie Kirk. During his monologue on Monday, Kimmel took a few jabs at President Trump, as he has done many times before, but it was what Kimmel said right before that upset people, including President Trump. And I believe we do have that clip. We'll get that up. Ernie, also you have it, don't you, of what Kimmel said?
Yeah, of course I do. And I will pull it up. He said, the MAGA gang are trying desperately to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
And this morning we received a lot of calls. If you would like to join the conversation, you can call us at 713-440-8870. We as well received quite a few comments offline and text. One of those we received that said, and this was a text that was sent into Hello Houston. Regarding Johnny Carson's statement, keep in mind that Johnny Carson's statement was when etiquette said you never discussed money, religion, or politics, even something like cancer. And before the rise of cable news, we also heard a clip from Johnny Carson on his take on this.
Well, other people have been saying if this level of scrutiny was applied to Charlie Kirk, he never would have been allowed to visit college campuses across America. Someone did point out that on Instagram, Jimmy Kimmel, on the day of the attack, sent love to the 31-year-old activist family and condemned the assassination. So this comment of Kimmel's that has gotten him taken off the air really was not aimed at in any way, shape, or form at what happened. It's more toward the right trying to say the assassin is not one of us. Mm-hmm. He's completely out there, lone wolf, not one of us, not ever affected by our ideology. Yeah, and, that might be true. We never know what a person's really thoughts are, and we always try to make sense of these things one way or another. It may not have anything to do with the right or the left. It may be about his own feelings toward what was happening to him and his romantic partner who was transgender. It could be a completely different issue.
We are curious to know what you think about that. We have a lot of comments that we're going to read through and share with you. But if you'd like to give us a call or text us right now with your thoughts on this topic, 713-440-8870. I also want to point out the comment that we were talking about from Johnny Carson was back from, I do believe, 1979. And he was talking about whether or not politics should be addressed in late night. It was a very different time, and different mores were at play at that time, as the comment that Celeste just read was referring to.
Sometimes advice is eternal, and maybe you shouldn't speak. If you're a comedy platform and a talk show platform, maybe you should stay away from anything too controversial. The problem is everything is controversial now. Everything that makes the world go round, it seems like because of social media, we're constantly seeing controversy out there.
And it's tough because we're towing these lines where all of a sudden declaring any type of criticism of Charlie Kirk and perhaps some of the things that he said has become inappropriate. And it's been met with backlash. So it causes a very uncomfortable, people are towing the line of trying to figure out how to still clearly absolutely say nobody in this country or anywhere should be murdered for their beliefs in what they were doing. And the way it was done so publicly, on a college campus, it was horrendous. But again, it's that very difficult times, I think, for many people. And we're not just seeing it from entertainers. We're seeing it from teachers, from business people that have also lost their jobs.
To go back to the Jimmy Kimmel element of it, too, is that the shift we have seen in what a late night talk show is, late night comedians. In the Johnny Carson era, it was the comedian told the jokes of the day and funny jokes and poked things at other celebrities and so on and so forth. In later years, these late night comedians have shifted into commentators and are giving political voice and more political humor. But also in defense of that, I would have to say we have an administration, especially a president, who makes sure he is constantly in the pop culture landscape with something new every single day coming out. If you were even Johnny Carson today, you'd be hard pressed to do a monologue about the news of the day each day without politics being part of it. Because if you look at our news, so much of what happens every single day is what's happening in the White House. What did the president say today? What did this congressman, this senator say today? That leads our news.
And that's a really interesting point, Ernie, that you bring up, in that if we had late night comedians or entertainers or, commentators not talking at all about it, would they feel relevant?
Well, and keep in mind, no one's ever gotten in any real trouble for making fun of Trump or even the Republican Party. It was this time and place with the assassination and a MAGA remark that struck a nerve. And that's what I think sort of crossed the line, at least with the Republican administration.
There is more to the Kimmel bit than the one clip we're playing, in which he then went on, and I am going to terribly mischaracterize it, so please look online and see it. But Jimmy Kimmel makes reference to the fact of how our president was grieving the loss of Charlie Kirk, goes to a presser or I guess it was a talk, a chit chat outside of the helicopter, as he often does with the press. And a question was asked him about how he, the president, was handling his grief over what happened. And the president shifts the answer toward the ballroom that's being built, which then I could see the administration, the president, feeling very disrespected by that reaction and comment about it, as though the president doesn't show grief for a friend of his that he saw murdered.
Again, 713-440-8870. We have a call. Ron from the Med Center. Ron, welcome to Hello Houston. What is your comment or question?
Thank you. One thing people have said is, well, you know, he has the right to free speech, but we can just vote not to see him by our viewership. We can stop watching, but we really can't, right? Because now the government has taken away our ability to do that with an FCC influence. And by the way, it has happened with respect to Trump. The lawsuits, the settlements, the things that the major media organizations have acquiesced to because there were Trump insults due to FCC in this case and in the other case, pressure. So my point is, this is not simply him doing free speech and us choosing not to watch him. We no longer have that choice. Our choice has been taken away.
For now.
Thank you, Ron. That's a great point. And let's go to Connie from 6th Ward. Connie, welcome to Hello Houston. What is your comment or question?
I'm just really frightened that our rights to be able to see people like Colbert and Kimmel being taken away. And you know it. He's going down the same path as Adolf did in the 30s. And I don't know why this stuck, but Vanity Fair, real quick, September 1990. Google it. Vanity Fair. He was married to Havana, and she comments in there how they would do Heil Hitler to him in the law offices, and they would have Hitler speeches by his bedside. And it just frightens me that I see all this stuff, all these dominoes just falling in line. And what can we do besides, vote? Yeah. And I'm scared to speak out because are they going to come after me?
Well, yeah. Connie, I've pointed out on this show before that in 1939, there were 80 million Germans. Only 8 million, only 10% of them were members of the Nazi Party. But 10% of the people, when they have the power, can change a country. It doesn't take the whole country to make a change. Only 10% of the people can make a change. And I think that's what's frightening. I think the majority of people are very concerned about what's going on, but the majority is not in power.
Let's hear from more of that majority. 713-440-8870. Josie is on the line from Clear Lake. Josie,
Hello.
What do you have for us?
I just want my 2 cents is that I watched that program, and when Jimmy Kimmel said what the controversy, and I did not in any way, shape, or form take that to mean that he was implying that this assassin was MAGA. So right. I think they're just grasping at straws, and I'm resisting fear, but it's pretty shocking what's going on in our country right now. That's all I've got to say.
Thank you, Josie. We're going to go to Jeff from Northwest Houston. Jeff, welcome to Hello Houston. What are your comments or thoughts?
All right. Are you there?
Yes, hi, Jeff. What's up?
Sorry, I tried to turn on my radio, turned down you. So I couldn't believe my ears. A couple of minutes ago, Frank said that, there was blowback from this Jimmy Kimmel comment, but, he didn't think that there had been the similar type of response when they have been criticizing Trump. But, Stephen Colbert just got canceled. And I don't think there's any question that it's because of his criticisms of Trump.
Mm-hmm. Jeff, thank you for that comment. I'm jumping in here quick because we wanted to play that a minute ago and we didn't have it queued up ready. So I want to play just so for the sake of our conversation we're having. Let's hear what was said and is theorized to be the comment that did lead to all this trouble.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
I know we keep playing it. I just want to make sure that as we have this conversation, people are actually clear about what was actually said. Oftentimes in today's media, the idea of something starts to spread faster than the facts of it, and I just want you to be able to hear it.
And I said what I said, but let me rephrase it perhaps. It seems like the late-night comedians have always been making fun of presidents and making fun of Trump. But they haven't made fun necessarily of the far right, but I don't listen to him every night. So I know Colbert did get canceled, and I know Trump is suing. He sued ABC for George Stephanopoulos' remarks. He successfully got 60 Minutes on CBS, Colbert. So it's not like the president hasn't come after the media, but generally speaking, late night comics have been able to at least make a joke about the president without being attacked. My point is, I think Kimmel crossed a line with the administration by going after MAGA at this point in time, given the assassination.
And the president has X'd out or tweeted or truthed, whatever format he's using, that next are Fallon and Seth Meyers. And so you can't help but look at this as an attack on late night platforms, as he is listing, and he had beforehand said Jimmy Kimmel would be next after what happened with Colbert.
It's almost like he's looking for a way to get rid of people that are criticizing the administration.
And again, 713-440-8870. Sam from Sugar Land is on the line. Sam, welcome to Hello Houston. What are your thoughts or questions?
Yeah, hello, madam. My thoughts and comment is that a young man who was very civil in his discourses has been assassinated, and people are not sensitive about it. The media has not been, especially the late-night programs. They are using unparliamentary words. Many times we have seen it being used, especially Stephen Colbert. And that has got a bad rub-off effect on everybody who is watching, whether on this side of the aisle or that side of the aisle. I think they have to be very civil in their... They can make fun, they are free to comment, but usually you don't comment bad about a person who is dead. The golden rule is that if you don't have anything good to say, go say nothing about the dead.
Sam, thank you for those comments. 713-440-8870. Let's move to Chris quickly from Missouri City.
Hello, how are you guys? I just want to say that it's sad what's going on. There's a lot of discourse going on in the country. It's coming from one place and one person. It's all starting with Trump. Trump insults more people and says negative things all the time. And it's kind of scary that everyone in the media is just kind of sitting back and just, going, oh, well, at the midterm elections and all this stuff, there may not even be any midterm elections. This is total crazy, and people need to stand up for their rights before they don't have any rights left. Thank you.
Chris, thank you for your comments.
I wonder how we're supposed to do that. I mean, we're talking about it. We're listening to our listeners and our viewers. We're at least giving them a platform to talk about this. Other than talking about it, I guess in this case, you could just say, I'm not going to watch ABC until they bring Kimmel back. And I'm not going to watch CBS until they decide not to cancel Colbert. You could vote with believe me, I worked for ratings for 42 years. You can vote with your channel changer. Your clicker is your voice. If you are upset about this, then write Channel 13 and say, I'm not watching Channel 13 until you bring Kimmel back. And if enough people do that, that will make a difference because advertisers care about what people are watching. And if you tell the channels that you're not going to watch them unless you do what the viewer wants, not what the government wants, what the viewer wants, they have no choice.
So would ABC essentially, if let's say ABC gets hit with major backlash, they're not going to bring Jimmy Kimmel back, but what could they do? They could make a truce. They could sit down, Kimmel and the FCC and perhaps the family of Charlie Kirk and say, look, or whomever,
and say, okay, how do we get on the same stage here? How do we reach a compromise? Which compromise isn't easy, but it can be done if all the parties are willing to say, okay, I have a dog in this, I have a dog in this, and I have a dog in this. Then I think they could go somewhere. But until people vote with their clickers, then there's nothing that can be done.
Again, what do you think? Do you agree with ABC's actions, or is this an attack on free speech? Do you like politics mixed in with your late night talk? Give us a call or send us a text, 713-440-8870.
Megyn Kelly has also taken to X, previously Twitter, and given her opinion. And I think it's interesting because it gives another side to this conversation. She claimed that Kimmel falsely stated as a fact that Charlie Kirk's killer was MAGA. She accused him of smearing an entire movement, and Trump in particular, with vile, disgusting lies. She said that there was zero evidence that the shooter was MAGA or had been influenced by MAGA in any way. Kelly then called Kimmel's comments an intentional lie, meaning to, quote, gin up hatred toward the very group of people most suffering in the wake of our devastating loss of Charlie. She also suggested that ABC's decision to suspend the show was in part driven by, quote, absolutely furious calls, comments, emails from a truly fed up viewers. And she said that Kimmel's remarks had crossed a deadly serious line and ended her post by saying, good riddance.
You want to explain a little bit about who Megyn Kelly is?
Megyn Kelly, she was a Fox commentator, reporter, and she actually was the one who moderated the debate in which Trump made the comment about, after the debate, feeling that she had been unfair in her questioning, that she was so angry there was blood coming out of her eyes, her ears, other places. I'm paraphrasing that. And she left Fox and then was on the Today Show for a short time, and now is
she had her own show on NBC. And
yeah.
Why was she fired from that show?
Low ratings, I do believe.
I do believe it was because she said that blackface was an acceptable Halloween costume.
That's right.
And did not understand why that would not be an acceptable Halloween. So I really don't care what she has to say, to be honest.
She speaks for a group of people out there. I just want to add that
group
into the conversation.
Her group.
And let you know she is a successful now podcaster slash
she was
YouTuber.
she was on the wrong side of Trump, and now I think she's on probably the right side of Trump. So it was a real big about face from someone who I don't think gets it.
Again,
that's my opinion.
713-440-8870. We have a call. Gary from the Heights is on the line. Gary, welcome to Hello Houston.
Good morning.
Hi.
Good morning. Good afternoon.
True.
I just wanted to comment on the hypocrisy of both the FCC chair and Charlie Kirk. They have both many times publicly stated, and Charlie Kirk is quoted directly as saying, there is no such thing as hate speech. There is no such thing as hate speech. It's part of the First Amendment. You can say whatever you want. And yet our government is canonizing, lionizing Kirk. I think the flags at half-staff over Charlie Kirk is just abominable. It's the most horrible thing. I can't even imagine why they would do that. That's all I have.
Oh,
thank you. And again, 713-440-8870. We are discussing the ABC's decision to let go of Jimmy Kimmel live after his comments about Charlie Kirk.
Yeah. I do want to go back and just say the reason I'm bringing in the Megyn Kelly comment was also to show that there are people that are saying that that they are very much championing what happened here, and that he is getting his just rewards for what he had done.
Listening to it, though, it didn't sound like he was really bashing.
Well, that's
MAGA.
why I keep replaying it, is so that people can make their own decisions. What actually did he say?
Yeah.
Is it getting misconstrued out there?
And he says a lot. I mean, Kimmel goes on and on and on. I think Fallon's the most non-political of all
Fallon's
of them.
just very giggly.
Yeah, he's very giggly. That's a good way to put it. Colbert, I think, was the strongest voice. But Kimmel would come in with some of the best lines. I mean, he was funny when I would hear him.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens on shows like The Daily Show, which are
Jon
Comedy
Stewart.
Central, and who owns that. So
what is it? The news that happened this John Oliver.
John Oliver.
Yeah, well, John Oliver's on break right now, so he hasn't played into it. But Bill Maher is.
He got fired from ABC. For the first time. But
for politically incorrect when he made reference to what happened on 9/11 and about the the men that were flying the planes. He made an offhanded comment about that, and he ended up getting canceled. So it'll be interesting on Friday to see how he reacts to this situation. But then you've got to remember all of these companies that are out there where we say things like, well, Kimmel is off here, he can go to another platform. They're all owned by these conglomerates now that are all concerned about the same thing at the end of the day. And as long as there is government regulation or government decision on mergers and acquisitions, that makes it a thickly wicket. What's that expression?
But even then, I feel like there's, ABC sent a very clear message. And sometimes when you're outs within an industry, we all work in different industries. I mean, we're in the media industry, but it gets very small. Even if somebody doesn't own all of them, and people talk, and there's deals and things happening where people might say, "No, we're not going to take him. We're not going to pick him up."
Well, people vote with their wallet, and people make a lot of decisions when it comes down to their wallet. So it doesn't surprise me. We have another call. This is from Sam in Spring Branch. Sam, what's going on in your world?
Hey, Sarah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to call in. I know I might be in the minority here, but it doesn't seem to be, I guess, a big deal to me. I can't tell you the last time I watched a late night show and they said anything kind of basically anybody Republican. So I don't really take it as a bipartisan show. It does seem very angled from a political perspective. I listened to the clip that you guys played. What he said about Charlie Kirk, I understand, he's dealing with information he has in the moment, but it does seem very targeted in the sense of poking at the MAGA movement to make political points when he himself is doing the exact same thing for his side. So I guess on my end, I don't see it as all that big a deal. I understand the idea of, hey, free speech and mergers and acquisitions and all that jazz is not great. I agree with that. I don't think the government should tell anybody effectively what to do about anything. But the idea that a very what's the word I want to use? Animated president had something to say about somebody who was critical of him. Like, I don't know, man. Water is wet.
Sam, thank you for those thoughts and sharing them with us right now. 713-440-8870. Courtney from Houston is on the line. Courtney, what's on your mind?
Hi there. I think for me, where I'm really concerned is that if someone's poking or prodding, that's fine. Do we like it if we're on the opposite side of the political party? No. But at the end of the day, people should be entitled to their free speech and not have to make compromises with the FCC when people get to choose what media they engage in. And so I just think it's very concerning that this is happening, because what's next? We already know education and books are being banned. And so this just feels like a domino effect where I don't really know how we can act and change this from continuing and getting worse.
Good points there, Courtney. I think that also plays back a little to Sam's comments, and that I think the concern, the reaction people are having to what happened to Jimmy Kimmel is, yes, partially of what happened to Jimmy Kimmel, but it's also the pattern you see emerging and the concern we have for where is the free exchange of ideas allowed. Maybe it's not supposed to be on late night television, and that's for the marketplace and commercial viewing to decide. But where does it go from there when you defund libraries, when you pull back on public media funding, when you start limiting where we can have these conversations? Should we be concerned about what's happening out there? That, for me, is the bigger story here, is where are we leading?
I have a question for you, Ernie, because you're really good on this licensing thing. So commercial television has an FCC license. Is cable television, where you find John Oliver and Jon Stewart and Bill Maher, are they under the same scrutiny like an FCC license, like for broadcast television?
No.
So they can pretty much get away with saying whatever they want.
The difference being
we paid them directly.
Right. The difference being that the airwaves, in broadcast television, the airwaves theoretically belong to all of us, every individual. And therefore, the government licenses the ability to use those airwaves for this programming. With cable, it's a different setup because it's being directly fed to your house, either through cable or through however they send signals now. It's different in a way. So the setup is different. What the regulations are surrounding cable and pay for cable and streaming services, I'm not.
So Kimmel could go to E or Comedy Central or with
but
a show.
Who owns them? the major networks tend
think
to
eventually
own the
they're all-
majority of
they're
the
all
cable
vulnerable, right?
entities.
Yeah.
And, I think, though, going back to your point, Ernie, about are we moving away from an area where there was a free exchange of conversation in late night? I think that's what Paul was essentially saying, or Sam was essentially saying, was that there wasn't a free exchange of political ideas and things on Jimmy Kimmel or Colbert, or those, that it seemed very much like they were continuously for a very long time making fun of Republicans. And I think that's his point.
But they went after Biden. They went after Obama. They went after Bush. Every sitting president has had late night. It would almost be an insult if late night ignored you.
Yeah.
And that also is that there are alternatives, and it has grown. Over on Fox, they have their late night talk show where they make fun of what's going on the Democratic side. Now, the difference is one
That's
is
cable
over
news.
air and the other is cable that you pay for.
Yeah.
But the broader concept is that there are different flavors of ice cream. Vanilla is never going to taste like chocolate, but if you want chocolate, go to chocolate. If you want vanilla, go to vanilla.
Yeah.
That's the silo system that we're falling into. You want to hear what Kimmel has to say? Go hear what Kimmel. You want to hear what Crutchfield has to say? Or Gutfield? I'm getting his name wrong.
I think it was David Brooks who one time said people used to go to the news for information. Now people go to the news for affirmation.
Yeah, Gutfeld was the name I was
I love
searching.
David Brooks.
And David Brooks one time said that, and he said that on PBS NewsHour. And I remember thinking that it was like a light bulb immediately. We have moved away from going to our news and our media for information, and now it's just affirmation. And social media has blown that up to 1,000%. But we do have a lot of calls on the line, 713-440-8870. Angela from Montgomery. Angela, welcome to Hello Houston. What are your thoughts?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, please. Angela, go now or we're going to lose you.
Hello?
Yeah. Hello, Angela. What are your thoughts right now or are we going to move on?
Hi, yes, I'm sorry. I just want to call this what this is. This is Trump's fragile ego and appointing someone to the FCC that is trying to bully any discourse regarding this president. Jimmy Kimmel didn't say anything that wasn't true. Right before the clip you played, he was giving sincere condolences to the loss of Kirk, to his family. Right afterwards, he played a clip of Trump celebrating after being asked how he felt about Kirk's death. So I want to know if Bondi is to be believed, when is she going to arrest Trump for celebrating after the fact? I mean, this is ridiculous and hypocrisy at the highest level.
Angela, thank you for your comments. 713-440-8870. Let's grab Joseph.
Yes, I was wondering. I think it's being mischaracterized. Kimmel wasn't saying that the assassin was MAGA. What he was saying is that the assassin and the people that are right now supposedly supporting Kirk were all fascists. And the simple truth is, there are fascists on the left and right. There are free speech advocates on the left and right. Kirk enjoyed free speech. He would have understood Kimmel's joke as he did when he was ribbed by South Park. Fascists are simply those who use unethical force to achieve their objectives. Thank you.
Joseph, thank you for your comments. And finally, we're going to grab, this is our last call. Alexia, what's on your mind?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank y'all for playing the clip over and over. I felt like it was very soft. I understand, network's going to do what's best for them, but it'll be interesting to see how everybody else falls in line or doesn't. Interestingly enough, South Park delayed their episode today, so it does feel like a warning shot, for things to come.
Thank you for that comment. And at that point, that'll bring us, at least for now, to the end of discussing this topic.
Coming up on Hello Houston, CenterPoint Energy's Vice President of Resilience and Capital Delivery, Nathan Brownell, is here to discuss their updated resiliency plan. This is News 88.7.
Federal funding for public media has been cut. In response, we're creating Houston Public Media's Resiliency Fund. Donations made toward the fund will directly counter the loss of the $2.2 million in federal funds that were cut annually and strengthen our station's foundation to provide our services into the future. Contributing to this fund is easy and quick and makes all the difference to our station. Help build the Resiliency Fund now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from Texas Mutual Insurance Company, a workers' compensation provider striving to build trust with businesses across the state through dedicated services. More at texasmutual.com/TexansDeliver.
Join us for Hello Houston, weekdays from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., taking a deep dive into the stories that matter to Houstonians, keeping you informed, engaged, and entertained. With the generous support from our founding sponsor, Kathy Sanders.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from Hildebrand MBA at UT Austin's Macomb School of Business, offering the weekend MBA at Houston. Campus visit September 20th. Details at texasmbaevents.com. Make it here.
Support comes from Miller Outdoor Theater, featuring modern jazz masters performing music from the Nancy Wilson Cannonball Adderley Capitol Catalog. This Saturday, open to the public. More at MillerOutdoorTheater.com.
Support comes from Asia Society Texas, presenting Hung Xian Between Worlds, an exhibition celebrating the artistic legacy of pioneering modern ink artist Hung Xian, closing September 21st. More at asiasociety.org/Texas. Support comes from the Dan L. Duncan Comprehensive Cancer Center at Baylor St. Luke's Medical Center, offering comprehensive cancer care that is compassionate, personalized, and driven by clinical research. More at stlukeshealth.org/cancer.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on any of today's topics, call 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now back to Ernie Manouse, Celeste Díaz Schurman, and Frank Billingsley.
Texas regulators have officially greenlit a trimmed-down version of CenterPoint Energy's system resiliency plan, authorizing $2.7 billion in grid-hardening investments over the next 3 years. The plan, which aims to improve reliability across CenterPoint's service area, comes after months of debate and revisions, cutting nearly half from the company's original $5.75 billion proposal. Nathan Brownell is the CenterPoint Energy's Vice President of Resilience and Capital Delivery, and he's here to discuss the updated resiliency plan. Nathan, welcome to Hello Houston.
Good morning. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah. And if you would like to join the conversation, you can call us or send a text at 713-440-8870. So, Nathan, originally we had you on when the original resiliency plan was released at $5.75 billion. Obviously, that's been drastically slimmed down. Why was it slimmed down, and what does that mean exactly?
Yeah, great question. So, the resiliency plan is really a Texas mandate that all utilities have to do. Every 3 years, you have to submit a resiliency plan. What are you going to do for extreme weather events? And so our plan, the $5.7 billion plan, included everything from transmission work, substation distribution. In reality, the only thing that we're actually able to get special accounting treatment on, and it's how we recover the money, is on the distribution work. And so it was roughly half. So we'll think about $3 billion of the $5.75 billion is really what was up for negotiations. And so in reality, the settlement or the PUC order of the $2.7 billion represents around $3 billion that we were talking about. So I heard Ed Hers on here a couple weeks ago. Love Ed, big fan of his work. Mm-hmm. He's right. He brought up that CenterPoint should do all the work that's in there, and we are. So the settlement that we had with the PUC order was around $2.7 billion of work. We plan to do all $5.7 billion of work over the next 3 years. And so I'll call that the floor. We're also looking at additional investments across our system.
Now, we did have Ed on, and he was a little also skeptical about that. he wasn't so sure. We would have to basically wait to see if the resiliency plan is effective. How confident is CenterPoint that this is going to be effective with the measures that y'all are putting in place?
So a couple things that we can track our progress on. One is we think about all the work that we've done since Hurricane Beryl. We've installed over 32,000 poles, over 7,000 lines of vegetation we've trimmed out, almost 400 smart devices, hundreds of miles of underground. We've done a ton of work since Hurricane Beryl. So we've got a data point. From this point compared to last year, we've seen reductions of over 45% of outages. So our customers are seeing the benefit of the work we're doing today. And so when we think about all the work that's coming, not only is it going to further help reliability, the day-to-day service of our grid, it's also going to make it more hardened. So as we see these storms come in, we'll be able to withstand those or be able to get back up much quicker than we ever have been.
Yeah, so I think you've answered this. It's distribution that I'm hearing you're spending a lot of money on. The poles, the lines, get the lines away from the vegetation. But where does the power come from in the first place to be distributed? That was the problem that we had as much as anything else.
Yes, yeah. So when we talked about the $5.7 billion plan originally, it was really focused on, we'll call it the $3 billion of distribution. That other, we'll call it the transmission substation work, that will continue. And so over the next 3 years, we're going to replace over 2,000 transmission poles. Give you a point of reference. So Florida Power and Light kind of invented resiliency back in 04, 05 from the hurricane season. It took them around 15 years to get rid of all their wooden transmission poles. We're going to do it over the next 3 years.
And you go to what? Metal? Steel?
But steel poles, that's correct.
Tariff issues with that?
What's that?
Steel tariff issues?
No, we don't. So the majority of our products are bought here in the United States. We also are really focusing on not having single source vendors. So we'll have multiple different vendors that we can go to.
Now, Nathan, are you all prioritizing? Sorry, I just want to have a follow up on this.
Yes.
Are y'all prioritizing areas where you're replacing the different types of poles?
So we are. So as we are, the way we've identified projects are we do 3D modeling. So every year we are going through our system and doing, we call it LiDAR. So it's a system to basically digitally look at all the vegetation, all the things that are out there, and we can model different type of weather events, different type of issues with reliability, and we can pinpoint where that work is being done. So the resiliency work is focused on the worst areas across our system. And so we're all throughout the system. But of the work that we're doing, we also prioritize that work to impact the worst reliable system or worst reliable customers. So if you have a very terrible service, we're working really hard to be in your neighborhood.
So let me ask you this on the steel versus the wooden poles. The derecho took out these huge steel transmission lines. So in a way, they're not impermeable, and it takes longer to replace them than a wooden pole, doesn't it?
They do take longer. I will say that not all steel poles are the same. Some are beefier, just like a wood pole. You have some skinny wood poles. You've got some big wood poles. You've also got these new composite poles. These are like fiberglass poles. So interesting thing about the hurricane, or not hurricane, but the derecho storm that rolled through, where those transmission poles had got knocked down. Several feet away from that, we had new fiberglass poles that withstood that.
Well, let's go with them.
Yeah, so you'll see these across our whole system. These new fiberglass poles that we're installing out there. For us, we love them because they're lightweight. They're broken up into 4 sections. We can easily get into your backyard and put those up. And so we've shown that it demonstrates those high energy events, and so we're continuing to roll those out.
Let me ask this, and it may be an unfair question, but I think it'll help put into perspective so people can understand. With the work that has already been done to today, if Beryl were to hit today, what would that have looked like for our area? With the work you have done, what do you think?
So we have modeled that, and we know that it will make a significant impact. We've done so much more vegetation. We've installed 32,000 additional poles, undergrounding more. The outage times that we would have had during Hurricane Beryl would have been greatly reduced. The ability to get back up quicker, we're also doing more work, not necessarily within the system, but how do we organize ourselves? And so we actually brought one of the industry leaders in ICS. So it's a command system. So we brought him in. We built an organization of how we train on these types of events. How do we quickly deploy our resources? Where do we stage them? So the efficiency of how do we utilize those resources. The other thing that we've done since then is we created a new meteorology team. So we have some really talented people within our organization that are given great perspective of this is the type of event that's come in. You may even want to look at it from this type of lens and not this lens. And the cool thing that I love about this is we can bring those type of skills into our modeling environment and say, all right, we want to model this type of storm. They have great perspective of this is how it actually look, and this is where you may have your weak spots at. And so that is driving a lot better project identification and really execution of the projects for customers.
What kind of fraternity do you have with other power companies in other states? Because we always hear, well, Louisiana's sending people and Mississippi sending.
Yep.
Is that's not just random. There's got to be some sort of organization to that.
It is. And the utility industry is like it's a very interesting environment where we're not necessarily competing against each other, but we are also supporting each other. And so for our coastal areas, there is a mutual assistance group. It's called the Southeast Electric Mutual Assistance Groups. And so basically all of this, the Gulf utility companies support each other. So if somebody has an event, we all respond. So we provide linemen, we provide materials, sometimes we provide damage assessment, or they may need, hey, we need additional supervisors just to handle all these additional linemen that are coming in. So each area or region has those. And so once an event gets large enough outside that region, you'll call the other region. So like Hurricane Beryl, we had linemen coming from Canada. We had linemen coming from the East Coast, the West Coast, because we were calling 12,000 resources all across the United States to come.
We're speaking with Nathan Brownell with CenterPoint Energy about their updated resiliency plan. If you would like to join the conversation, if you have a call or comment for Nathan, you can join this conversation at 713-440-8870.
We had a comment come in from YouTube that says small rainstorms are still knocking out power and our electricity bills are still going up. What is CenterPoint doing about that?
We are very focused on managing the cost of our customers. We understand the challenge that everybody's feeling with the cost of groceries, the cost of just living. And so for us, it's about using the cost-effective manner to address those reliability or resiliency concerns. I'll give you an example. One of the things I always get asked about is why don't we underground the whole system? Mm-hmm. Let's just go ahead and underground it. Great idea. It really is. The problem is if I look at a mile of circuit, I can basically build it to be more resilient to withstand a hurricane winds. But if I underground it, that same mile, so the overhead hardening, if it's around $300,000 a mile. If I underground it, it's around $5 million a mile. So you think about those costs are directly passed on to our customers. And so for my end is, yeah, it's a lot better to put it underground, but it's a huge cost to our burden to our customers. And so for us, we like to think about resiliency not in what we're going to do next year, it's what we're going to do the next 100 years. And so we're trying to make investments that not only improve the day-to-day resiliency and reliability of our customers today, but also how do we position ourselves for long-term success.
I have a question, and I'm not sure you can answer it because I'm asking out of left field. But since you're on the hardening of above and below ground, all the wildfires that we've seen from Hawaii to California, Colorado, it seems like a lot of them are caused by power lines above ground. And yet they don't do anything to harden their above ground structures. Do they ever ask for advice on this? I mean, what would you tell them about how they could harden against wildfire?
So this is actually a kind of new area of research into the utility business. When I say research, there's a lot of focus. You saw the wildfires that had out in California. We actually had one out in Northwest Texas on the Panhandle. even our area, the Houston area has
Walker
wildfire
County.
risk. And
Yep.
so for us, we have starting to identify where those risks are within our system. We're programming our automation devices when we have wildfire risk that it doesn't reclose, so you cannot start the fire. We're also looking at fire retardant materials through that. We're looking at how do we better position our lines to minimize the number of customers on those wildfire areas, maybe split them up into lower. So we're building plans, and this is not CenterPoint in a silo doing that. We're working with AEP, we're working with Encore, with utilities out west. We're all trying to work together on what is the right solution to battle this.
I think that's brilliant because I'll tell you, looking at the long-term models, the Gulf looks pretty quiet for hurricanes. This is maybe our year not to have a problem. I know, let's all come. But when you get that, Nathan, you often get a very dry October and November, and that is conducive to wind and dry air and wildfires, especially in Texas. So that's why I brought it all up.
No, that's good. That's a good observation.
Yeah.
You know, one thing I'll add on this, and people may not realize this. So Harris County is a great place. I love it, raising my family here. But when we look across the whole United States, so the FEMA, the NOAA, each year they put out mapping on the most high-risk counties across the United States based off extreme weather. So we're talking hurricanes, we're talking flooding, earthquakes, wildfire,
avalanche,
everything you think of. Do you know where Harris County sits on that?
First.
We are number one.
Yep.
We are number one. They ranked us at a scale of 99. Number 2 is Miami-Dade County at a 75.
And tornadoes do a lot of that. I mean, that's a biggie, especially with Dade County.
Mm-hmm.
And even here, people don't realize we have a lot of tornado reports. Even if they don't reach the ground, they still count.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
we are.
Go ahead.
I'm just going to jump in and say we're taking calls here and inviting you to join the conversation. 713-440-8870. We have Matt from Santa Fe on the line. Matt, what's on your mind today?
Yes, I got a quick question. I appreciate y'all doing a good job with the polls. I live in the Galveston County, more towards the coast, and the polls you're putting up haven't come our way yet. And I was wondering when or if they're going to come that way, because we have the older poles, and when the wind blows or it drizzles, my particular electricity keeps going out. But what I would like to know is that are you working in the Galveston area and down that way for us?
Thanks for the question, Matt. So answer is yes. At Galveston is a focus for us. We think about extreme weather risk. Galveston's like right at the forefront. You got hurricane risk, you've got flooding risk, you've got salt contamination risk that's out there. So we do have plans. So we have crews scattered across our footprint in all of our counties, all of our jurisdictions, focusing on how do we do that. And so for us, we will be down in the Galveston County area replacing poles up to our wind loading standards. We're also going to be elevating substations that are outside of our 500-year floodplain to ensure that we don't have flooding. Another thing that we're doing along the coastal area is putting new materials in our substations that doesn't allow salt water contamination, so that doesn't cause arcing. So all of those are a big focus along our coastal communities. We want to ensure that they're going to withstand these extreme weather events.
713-440-8870. Rob is up next. Rob, what's on your mind?
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I see the improvements CenterPoint's making. I happen to work downtown but live in Atascocita. KPRC has reported recently the northeast quadrant of Harris County still has a huge issue with electrical outages. I will submit that you guys owe me an air conditioner because after so many of those surges, my air conditioner finally went kaput and I had to get that replaced. But since then, I've gotten a surge protector for my AC, the whole house. What can we see in the near future that we don't have on a clear day, such as today, these little micro surges that happen throughout the day? Because there have been times I get home and I notice my computer's off, the clocks are flashing because there was a small little surge in our area.
Okay, Rob, we got to get the answer. Got to cut you off. What's the answer, Nathan?
Yeah, Rob, appreciate the question. We are going to be in the northeast area. I'm a Kingwood resident. I see our trucks running around the area. So I think about the work that we're doing from adding capacity, going out and trimming trees, which is a huge concern in that wooded area. it is a focus for us. We are looking at some of our worst reliable circuits, some of the customers that are the most impacted, and we do have plans to come address it. So we're coming.
Is there anything we can do as homeowners to help you guys out?
I would say keep the communication coming to us. We want your feedback. We want to understand what we can do better. We look at this big journey that we're going to be on. It's going to be a partnership between us and our customers. We want to work together and to provide this level of service that our customers demand.
Nathan Brownell is CenterPoint Energy's Vice President of Resilience and Capital Delivery. Nathan, thank you for being back on Hello Houston.
Thank you.
And for a quick point of disclosure, CenterPoint is a financial supporter of Houston Public Media, but that does not impact our editorial approach to handling this topic.
And that brings us to the end of our show. We want to thank you for listening, calling, and sharing right here on Hello Houston. We will be back tomorrow with more conversations. We'll also be taking our show on the road as we broadcast live from the Untitled Art Fair at the George R. Brown Convention Center. This is News 88.7. Have a great Thursday.
Thanks for listening to Hello Houston. Join us every Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. to talk all things Houston. The Hello Houston production team includes Garrett Bowman, William Menjivar, Jen Altide, Todd Holslander, and Jim Kovacic. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at HoustonPublicMedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
Did you know your gift to Houston Public Media could go twice or even 3 times as far through your employer's matching gift program? Many companies will match the charitable donations of their employees, and some even match gifts from retirees. That means your support for trusted news and programs could have double the impact for our community. Find out if your company participates at HoustonPublicMedia.org/match.